Good morning. It's Thursday, August 28th, 2014. This is Tech Talk Today, episode 50. My name is Chris, and man, is it great to be back. Good to be with you guys. I took yesterday off so that way we could go to my son's new school. He starts school next week, and we met his teacher, and the principal made horrible lunch burgers, school lunch burgers. I forgot how awful those are. Oh, my gosh, but they were barbecued at least, so that was something. And then we went to the fair and turned our tongues different colors because of the snacks that we were eating. It was a good time. So I hope you didn't miss us too much yesterday. We're back, and to celebrate, I am joined by an excellent council of informed Mumble internet citizens. Time-appropriate greetings, Mumble citizens.
Happy 50 mornings.
I'm still retching from the school hamburger idea.
It was weird because even though it wasn't my own school, being back at a elementary school and eating elementary school lunch, my wife and I were just both like, wow, this is really a trip. It was really funny going back. So then we had to go shake it all off. We shook it all off at the fair. I got some serious sunburns on my arms, legs, neck, face. So that's good. So that's one way it's summer in the Pacific Northwest. Chris got a sunburn. Just in time for summer to be over, too. Why don't we start with the big news? Even though I took the day off yesterday, didn't mean I wasn't watching the news, and I jumped right on this offer because we do still use Dropbox quite a bit for some of our production files here at Jupiter Broadcasting. And you might have heard the news, but Dropbox has made a big change-up in their pricing structure. They're now offering 1 terabyte of storage for essentially $10 a month or $99 a year, which is
nice.
That's quite a big chunk of storage, and I think we'll get to some of our other alternative options and some of the problems we have with Dropbox in a moment. But let's reflect for a minute here on this pricing. So for $10, you now get a terabyte of storage. And one of the advantages that Dropbox has, of course, is they have a presence everywhere. Dropbox works great under Linux. It works great under all the other operating systems that aren't that great. They have fantastic mobile apps. There are thousands of mobile apps that are integrated directly with Dropbox. Some of my favorite note-taking applications have Dropbox support built right in. Some of my favorite screenshot applications have Dropbox support built right in. Some of my favorite comic book reading applications for mobile have Dropbox support built right in. My favorite emulator for the Super Nintendo has so you get where I'm going. Dropbox is a useful service, right? Okay, I think we get that. So, until today, pro users like myself, because I have so many media files in there, were paying $10 a month for 100 gigabytes of storage. So I went from paying $10 a month for 100 gigs, now I get a terabyte. Nothing changes. That's a pretty big change, and Dropbox says that they're hoping also it might get the attention of more businesses. They say they're used within 4 million companies, 97% of Fortune 500 businesses, although speculation is most of those businesses are using Dropbox for free. So they're thinking maybe this is a good way to get their attention. I think also you can't deny that this is obviously to compete with, say, things like Google Drive or perhaps Microsoft's OneDrive or most definitely BitTorrent Sync. I'll get to that more in a second. Another feature now available to pro users that wasn't available before is the ability to remotely wipe your Dropbox. Now, this has bitten me twice. When I have left a company, and when I left, twice, they decided, well, you're not going to stay for 2 weeks. We want you to go now. And in both circumstances, when they made that decision, they preemptively grabbed all of my computer equipment. Now, that makes it, saying it out loud sounds really bad, but for the most part, it was essentially like, thanks so much, you can go now. And the other part was, all right, well, we're moving on to a different platform and you're done, and it was a contract. It's over, but it was their equipment. So they're within their total rights to take the equipment. But I would have liked to have been able to remove my Dropbox off. Even though I could sort of unlink it from their dashboard, the files are still on the computer. Now with the pro accounts, when that computer comes back online, wipes the files. That is critical for enterprise. Also, they added the ability to do expired links. So if I wanted to send somebody a document through my Dropbox or an image file or a media asset, which is actually what we use it for the most, again, that link could expire. So if it was something a bit sensitive or something I didn't maybe want getting spread around, other people getting the link, it could auto-expire. That's also a pretty good offering. So, Mumble Room, anybody in here a diehard Dropbox advocate and want to take the side of Dropbox is amazing and this is great?
Really? It sounds amazing.
All right, I'll be the Dropbox advocate.
100 gigabytes?
Sounds great.
Terabyte?
I'll be the Dropbox advocate. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. The most of the media is reporting this as this is a response to Google Drive because essentially now their pricing more matches Google Drive pricing, which you get, the terabyte from Google Drive. So a lot of people are seeing it in that light. I think it's actually much more of a response to BitTorrent Sync. I think the people at Dropbox are watching BitTorrent Sync very closely, and they fundamentally recognize that it offers something that they cannot touch, and that is as much storage as you want for no monthly price, because it's your own storage.
Absolutely.
And the other thing about Dropbox is it's kind of negative in the privacy dimension.
That's another big problem too, isn't it?
NSA dimension.
Yeah, they've got Condoleezza Rice on their privacy advisory board, which doesn't make anybody feel good. Yeah, that's not sending a very good message to people who are concerned about their privacy stance. And
yeah, she's not exactly known for being privacy centric.
There's also, we've covered it extensively on TechSnap, there is some key design decisions they made in order to do things like in web browser rendering, search indexing of your files, to surface photos and things like this. They have to have the decryption key. So everything has a master key. Everything is encrypted against Dropbox's master key, and at any point they can decrypt things. In fact, they actively are decrypting to scan and index them. And it's also, I mean, to be fair, it's how they save on storage, right? Because if you and I have the same MP3 file in our Dropbox, it would be kind of silly for them to store that same exact digital duplicate twice. So they store one copy of it. The only way they can do that is by really analyzing your files bit by bit and making sure it's a bit match for another file on their same file system. And then they eliminate one copy, and it just saves space. It makes sense, but they have to have access to your files to do that. That simply makes some people uncomfortable.
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable. I'll take a pass on that.
Dark Devlin wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
I think Dropbox has... People just realize it doesn't matter that much. I mean, the things that people do with Dropbox, they are able now to do with so many other services. They just don't care, specifically if it's Dropbox. And people are privacy aware.
Yeah.
So when they actually care about getting something private, they will encrypt before putting in any service anyway. I really feel that's the thing, how people are looking at it right now.
Right. I guess
That's true.
I almost look at it, I'm really stretching this here, but I almost feel like it would be nerds arguing about the downsides of the SMTP protocol and how open it is and how clear it is. And when really it almost is a transport mechanism, and whatever rides on top of it needs to be protected. It's a bad analogy, but you can kind of see where I'm going, because I agree with Daredevil in the sense that I continue to use Dropbox fully aware of all these problems because, A, legitimately, almost everything that is in my Dropbox, is actually goes out on the internet in one of our shows. Like, it's media assets, it's sound clips, it's all that stuff. So it's all eventually generally goes public anyways. So it's not like it's some master secrecy breach if somebody gets into my Dropbox. There are that is starting to change as Dropbox adds auto camera uploads. And now I've got maybe just all kinds of family pictures on there. Probably nothing that would be inappropriate, but maybe just stuff that's personal that you wouldn't want people just going through. And again, I'm not really worried about Dropbox doing that. As long as they keep their security in check, then a malicious person can't do it. And if they don't have any motivation to go through that particular kind of stuff, I don't know why they would. And I'm not so worried about what I do have in there. And if I got worried about something I was getting maybe a little privacy conscious about, I would definitely encrypt, and I just probably wouldn't use Dropbox. I'd probably use something more like SpiderOak, BitTorrent Sync, or SyncThing.
I will even go as far as saying that people that don't use Dropbox as because of privacy concerns, they don't most likely because of the client being proprietary.
Sure.
Other than that, there's no reason.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you're outside
There's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, if you're outside the U.S. or you're a political dissident or you're a terrorist or you're a hacker group. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. There's tons of reasons not to, or you just have copywritten material that you want to save in your Dropbox. Maybe you got a great rip of Iron Man 3 and you decide to put in your Dropbox for the weekend, right? And then they
not even that. I mean, let's say you're an author, and you're working on a manuscript, and this is, blah, 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 stuff like that, content that you're actually creating, for release later on.
Doesn't that mean you wouldn't use any company? I mean, every time that you rely on a third party, you put yourself up to prejudice.
Which is why I don't rely on third parties.
Well, so then is that where it comes down to with Dropbox? Because I don't think that's not that's not an attainable stance for 90%, 80, maybe 98% of the
Exactly.
internet
Oh,
users.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Like, I mean, that's just me, man. Like, and like you said, like in all these arguments, like, oh yeah, well, I have this and that, and maybe not. I blah blah blah. Like, give them an inch, they take a mile, and the NSA can always just subpoena the whole thing.
What I think the meta story here is cloud storage, quote unquote, cloud storage is getting ridiculously cheap to the point where it's almost just it's too attractive for people to turn down. So this stuff
it's
is
gonna
just
start getting cheaper than the flash drive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and
it's like right there, right now, right?
And it's your backup too, right? It keeps multiple copies of it, so it's across all your computers, which for me is huge because I have a ridiculous amount of computers. So that's really nice. And
devices.
And what's great for me is and I do this with BitTorrent Sync too, but it's the same file path on all of my computers. So all of my scripts, all of my programs, they all point to the same file locations on all my computers all the time. So I can always fire up an application on any one of my computers, and my configs are there. And not for every single app I use, but for all of my media production stuff. Yeah, for anything I use on a daily basis for work, it's so nice like that. And speaking of BitTorrent Sync, they're not slouching either. They've got 10 million installs they're reporting now. That's huge. And they've just added a whole bunch of new features. Number one on the top of the list for Editor Rekai is a brand new interface for Mac OS and Windows. Linux users, go F yourself. BitTorrent Sync hates you.
That's so true.
No, the web interface is actually better than the GUI interface anyway. So
I agree.
It's not that bad. But here's something they have added that is definitely going right at the heart of Dropbizzle. They've added a share with BitTorrent Sync link. So now you can have like a pre-formatted email that will send somebody a link to a file in your BitTorrent Sync.
Awesome.
Right? It'll prompt them to install BitTorrent Sync and automatically sets up the shared keys. They're calling them not secrets anymore. They're keys now. And
awesome.
Yeah, and then boom, you're syncing. Bob's your uncle. And there is a downside. They will have to have BitTorrent Sync installed, but it'll walk them through that with the link if they don't have it, including they'll have to have version 1.4. So here's the other thing, kind of like Dropbox. The sender can give a link and set it to expire after a number of days or after a certain number of times it's been used. You can also require confirmation to ensure that only the receiver can sync the data in question. That's kind of cool. And if the receiver doesn't have version 1.4, like I said, it'll prompt them to install it. So you could see why I think Dropbox, it's responding to Google. It's responding to Microsoft, sure, Box.net, whatever. But I think the one that if the engineers and the people running Dropbox are still, following this industry closely, the one they need to worry about is BitTorrent Sync.
So does it allow for finer-grained control over permissions? Can you actually give permissions?
Now there is some more control over like read only and things like that and edit only.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But it's still essentially you get write or read at this point still. The only difference is now is there's some expiration control there, and also for people that are stuck behind NATs, there's now some support for if you want to set up a centralized proxy, and then it will proxy the BitTorrent Sync. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, there's some nice stuff. And that new UI, which we were just showing some screenshots of there on the stream. So if you're a BitTorrent Sync user, go do your updates. Why not? Hey, so we talked about Twitch last time we were on air. Amazon bought Twitch. Amazon, I think, made a good purchase. This is according to an article over on The Verge. Forget basic cable. Twitch is now bigger during its primetime peak than CNN, MSNBC, and MTV. Let that sink in. That's Twitch.tv. Larger than CNN, MSNBC, and MTV. Now, I know what you're thinking. How the hell is that possible? It actually turns out their ratings really suck, to be honest with you. I mean, Twitch is doing really good.
I was going to say.
Yeah, but their ratings really suck. So this is, The Verge is quoting a piece from the New York Times, and the New York Times has a really good data-driven article where they have it all laid out. They say 1 year ago, the video game live streaming platform wasn't even equal to the HLN network. Fast forward to this summer, and now, just since then, Twitch is bigger during primetime hours than CNN or Entertainment, the E! Network, or MSNBC, with occasional spikes above MTV. Right now, Twitch has about 715,000 concurrent views during prime time. But they say if the rate of growth were to continue, that would be nuts. But, of course, who knows if the rate of growth will continue. Maybe it's...
Can't continue far beyond that, like double that. Okay,
I think it could. I think it could, but I mean, how much of this recent growth has just been because of, integration with the new consoles? You've got just a new generation of games, right? I mean,
so you say it doubles every 3 years, a year and a half. You know,
maybe I could see that. I mean, I don't know if it's going to continue to explode, but I mean, so what did Amazon do, right? They bought themselves a cable TV network, and this is the cable TV of the future. My son does not. We don't even have TV service. He doesn't get TV. Like when we go over to a family member's house that has TV, it to him seems so ludicrous. Like he says, like, Dad, can I just go up and down? Like, yeah. He's like, well, what if I just want to choose the show I want to watch right now? Like, no, you can only watch what they're showing. Like to him, that's absolute insanity. That's absolute insanity to Dylan.
Amazing.
And so what he does is he watches YouTube and he watches Twitch for Minecraft. He loves watching kids play Minecraft. And so for him, this is his cable TV. And
that's cool.
I think Amazon sees that. I think it was a really smart purchase because also, not that I think they would, but couldn't Amazon just really kind of flip a switch and now it's a YouTube? Because Twitch has full YouTube-like capabilities of on-demand playback. So really, Amazon could have Amazon Tube if they wanted it too.
Oh, and forget YouTube. I mean, they monetize it with advertising, tied in with the game, game publishers, and I mean, bam!
Build it into all the Fire devices, right? Build in Twitch support to all Fire devices. The Amazon Fire TV could be the ultimate Twitch watching device. And if you've got at its peak, if you've got 715,000 people watching, well, maybe 50,000 of them, 100,000 of them would like to buy the ultimate device they could just hook up to their big screen TV with surround sound and watch people on that. And then it's like a sporting event. Then it's essentially you're watching ESPN.
Well, and the other thing is, like, unlike cable, the way ratings are done for cable and broadcast TV or whatever, these are like actual statistics that you can actually verify. These are real numbers of actual eyeballs on screens.
Yeah. It's not black magic Nielsen ratings.
Yeah, that's something that Comcast is going to have to come to grips with because what you just said anecdotally with Dylan is that we've got a generation of native cord cutters coming out.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And that's going to be scary for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is companies like Google and Amazon are seeing it years before the cable networks are seeing it. And so, and because part of it comes back to this accurate data, right? Because in some part, the cable networks are going off self-selecting Nielsen data, while Google and Amazon are able to take action on raw, real numbers. And what's crazy about the differential in data, because while we were at OSCON, I sat for a little bit at a booth. Eric, I don't remember if you remember their names, but we talked to the folks that manage the big data where they watch all of the viewing metrics across like all of the set-top boxes for the cable networks.
Thumb drive around here somewhere.
Yeah, there was we just sat there and talked to them for a while. We didn't record any of it because it wasn't Linux related, but it was massively fascinating. And they have really, what we are transitioning to is an era where they know when you turned the volume up versus when you turned it down, when you rewound, when you paused, how many times you paused, how long you watched for, on average, how long you watch for, when you jump around.
Which commercials you skipped.
They know all of it now when you watch online versus when you watch for Nielsen a lot of times, not always. Sometimes they're pulling metrics from the boxes, but those don't actually even play into the ratings. It's the Nielsen stuff, for a lot of them, is self-selected. Like my buddy Chase worked for Nielsen for 10 years, and he told me that sometimes he would go there to set up a Nielsen system for them, like on a Monday, and then he would leave, and they would leave them with a logbook. And in the logbook, you write down everything you watched in your Nielsen logbook. And then
we're going to watch.
And then you mail it in. Well, so he would set them up on a Monday with all the equipment they needed, like because there's also like a computer functionality, so he'd have to install a toolbar for Internet Explorer so they could track online views with that. But sometimes he'd get a call back, be like, hey, yeah, since you came out, my computer doesn't work, that kind of crap. So he'd come back like on a Tuesday the next day, and their logbook would already be filled out for the week. And it would be like PBS, Discovery Channel, History Network, right? And of course, meanwhile, they'd have Big Brother up on the TV, So the Nielsen stuff is totally black magic versus this entirely new, very data-driven system we're moving into. And these guys, the technology incumbents, are already in the position to recognize that, take advantage of it while these guys are still small and cheap and appear to be like a risk. When in reality, when you look at the trends, it almost seems like a slam dunk. And then you fast forward 10 years and Comcast, they've got done buying up all the cable networks and now nobody's watching them.
Honestly, I can't wait for cable in this country to die a horrible, horrible death because it's just ridiculous. I mean, their monopoly is ancient, it's old, it's outdated, it's passé, and they're raping us. For bandwidth, it's just ridiculous.
And it feels like their infrastructure is held together with twigs and duct tape. I mean, it's just it's the worst.
Yep.
All right, so lots of rumors today circling that Apple is about to announce an iWatch or some sort of, they're just calling it wearable. It might not even be a watch. It might be like a Fitbit for all we know, and super disappointing everybody. Samsung, in the meantime, not letting the spotlight fade away from them. They say, hey, guys, we're working on the Gear 2. Check it out. It's going to be called the S. Not the Solo. That's going to be a separate thing. The Gear S is going to have a 3G modem inside. That sounds kind of cool. Engadget had a picture up for a little while. They pulled it down and instead put a picture up of Kirk and Mr. Spock. I don't know what that's about. I don't necessarily dislike that one. I kind of like this picture more, so that's fine.
You'd like that. I figured that was the only reason you put that up.
Bluetooth and Wi-Fi also included. The idea is you'll be able to get text messages and make calls from the phone, a la Dick Tracy or Star Trek The Motion Picture wrist communicator. It has a 2-inch AMOLED screen, 1 gigahertz dual core inside. It's got GPS, a heart rate, motion sensors, powered by a 300 milliamp battery. Samsung says you're going to get 2 days out of it. You know why you're going to get 2 days, they say? Tizen. They're not going Android. They're going Tizen. No Android Wear, they say. They're also introducing a Gear Circle headset. The Gear Circle headset is a magnetic clasp. It fits around your neck. When not in use, it acts as a touch sensor, and it can last up to 11 hours with talk time. Pairs with the phone. Can get notifications. It can vibrate. Can listen to voice commands for the phone. Both devices will go on sale in October. No word on price.
When you said it goes around the neck, first thing I thought was shock collar.
It kind of looks like one. It's boy, it's funny because Engadget had pictures of both of them last night, and then they pulled it, which is, and I wonder if they got a takedown request from Samsung, because that does happen sometimes, which means it's probably a legit rumor. Okay, just a little, speaking of rumors, nothing really to sink into, just putting it out there. If you guys know anything, you feel free to go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact and let Chris know. But Red Hat CTO unexpectedly quits amid rumors of executive friction. This is, of course, according to Stephen J. Von Hochnechass over at ZDNet. No one among the rank and file at Red Hat seemed to even see this coming, he writes. And a move the Linux giant staffer said was shocking and a punch to the gut. Longtime Red Hat Chief Technology Officer Brian Stevens has resigned. In a short press release, the company announced Brian Stevens will step down as CTO. End press release. Literally.
Whoa.
Then they took down Stevens' page minutes after. He's been at Red Hat since 2001. Before that, he had been the CTO at Mission Critical Linux, a senior architect at Digital Equipment before that, and he worked on Digital Unix's operating system. Today, some of his work goes on in HP's True 64, which is still shipping, and you might have heard of a project he was famously well known for working on. It's a little thing called the X Windows system. He also helped work on that. Some Red Hat employees speculate that Stevens may have left because of a little upset between Stevens and Cormier. Now, if you're not familiar with Paul Cormier, he's Red Hat's president of products and technologies, which sounds a lot like a CTO job. So I could maybe see why there'd be some friction there. They observed that the CTO office had been moved from out underneath Cormier's control some time back, indicating some space was needed, but no one thought any current feuds were going on. Others have suggested that perhaps Stevens wanted to move up to a CEO slot, but it would never happen at Red Hat. I don't know. Don't know. A little shake-up at Red Hat.
When did this happen?
Yesterday. Yep, yesterday afternoon. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
interesting story.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, and nobody really knows what to do with it because nobody's saying anything. I mean, it's literally the shortest press release in the history of Red Hat. I mean, I've never even seen that. So, hey, let's end this on kind of a positive note, though. You know, I'm a big fan of GOG, Good Old Games, and they recently added Linux support. And yesterday, as far as I can tell, I hadn't heard about this before, Good Old Games has now introduced DRM-free movies. So they're really living up to the GOG aspect of their new name. So they have some DRM-free movies. Right now, it's nothing that you're probably going to race to go see. Indie game, though, that's actually a good one. Minecraft, The True Story of Mojang is actually a good one. Indie game, the movie. TPP AFK, that's a really great documentary on the Pirate Bay. So there's some really, and that one's free too. Let's see what that process looks like. So I'm going to check out. And, of course, I'll have to log in. Well, there you go. I'm not logged into LastPass. But I bet, I think you're good. I think you would get a download. They don't really have much info up about it. It's an 8 gig download. So there you go. And you get a wallpaper, and you get the poster. Available resolutions are 1080p, 720p, and 560 or 576p. And that one is down 781 megabytes. Oh, and look at this. They also mentioned that they encoded it using X264, which probably means you're going to get a great look. So I guess that means they're doing the encoding themselves, which is awesome. I'm going to definitely check. You know what? They have some free stuff on there. I'll have a link in the show notes, goes right to their featured movies if you want to check it out. I like GOG. I think they're great folks. I've talked to them behind the scenes before in just unofficial capacities, and have always been really impressed. And it took them a little while to get around to Linux, but now they're here. And now they've also got a great option for you to be able to buy and watch movies. All the movies you buy are DRM-free, which is awesome. So you get the 1080.
In the freedom dimension.
Yeah, you get a 1080p copy DRM-free. I'm down with that. And I was looking at the prices; they vary. Looks like the highest for like the special edition of indie game is $7.49, and there's also some.
That's not bad.
No,
Totally.
And $5.99 is another price, and yeah. So, and you figure here it is for 1080p, $7.49 US, X264, 1080p, DRM free. You get the poster too. You get a wallpaper, and you get some. You get music tracks too. You get the and commentary tracks too.
Oh yeah,
wow.
I'm all over this.
Yeah, that's really cool. So that's a neat system. Good on them. I'm going to check it out this weekend. I'm going to grab a movie off there. And you can too. Sometimes I leave you guys with things to add to your Read It Later queue. Not this week. This week I'm going to say go watch a movie. It's too nice outside to do something silly like read. Instead, sit inside and watch a movie.
What are books?
Yeah, right? That's a lot of work. All right, so I think Monday's Labor Day, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I don't think we're going to have a show that day because Coda Radio also is taking the day off. So I think I'm going to take the whole day off. And I'm really sorry that the last couple of weeks it's been bumpy with some shows on and off, and then we lost an episode. So it's just been all over the map. Let's just call it end of summer. It's the end of summer. And because next week is Labor Day. And get ready for this, dear listener. Wednesday is my son's first day of school. So I'm probably going to take that day off too. But then after next week, summer's over. Things should be back in routine. We should be back to our regular daily shows. And some of you did write in and say, actually, Chris, I think 3 days a week would actually be better because I can't quite keep up. Now is your chance to catch up. This is your chance. What I'm doing for you is a solid. Those of you who wanted less shows, you get that temporarily. And then those of you who wanted more shows, you're going to get that in a couple of weeks. We'll get through next week, so I won't be here on Monday. Yeah, right? It is. And when you have a daily show, the one thing I can say...
It's a complicated relationship.
Yeah, it's a complicated...
That's right.
Yeah. So we won't be here Monday. We will be here Tuesday. We won't be here Wednesday, but we will be here Thursday.
All right, that's way too complicated for me to fathom right now.
You know what you could do? Twitter.com/ChrisIS. I'll try to keep everybody up to date. Or JupiterBroadcasting.com/calendar. I'll have it all up there too.
Yep.
And if you'd like to support us and keep us going through these last couple of summer weeks, you totally can. You guys rock. I am so happy to say we now have 318 patrons. It really means a lot that I was able to take a family day and not have a bunch of people drop off. So thank you.
Nice.
Thank you very much. That really means a lot to me. And if you'd like to invest in the Jupiter Broadcasting Network and keep all of our shows going, today's Thursday, TechSnap Thursday. You know what? Your money goes at the patreon.com/today pledge. That money goes towards all of the shows like this show, like TechSnap, like every single show you enjoy, listen to, or watch on the Jupiter Broadcasting Network. Patreon.com/today. And I always try to, if something big's happening show-wise, too, I try to let the patrons know as well. I'll sometimes pop in there and say, hey, just a reminder to you patrons. Just wanted to let you know. So it's just a good way to stay in the loop, too. It's also maybe one-part newsletter for the show. Patreon.com/today, and thanks to 318 of you who are investing in the future of our little podcast network. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Who was in the Mumble Room that got us on the OS2 course this morning on the pre-show? Do you guys remember who that was?
Was that Spazzy?
I think it might have been. Yeah, Spazzy C got us. We were trying to come up with a commercial. I just wasn't sure. I like to try to make it match the show stories if I could, but I just didn't find anything that was really good. And Spazzy C said, well, there's this old OS2 commercial you might want to check out. And boy, does it take you back. So get your mouse ready, folks, because we're going to get on the internet with OS2. See you next Tuesday, everybody.
With OS2 Warp, if you can use a mouse, you can get out on the internet. It has a graphical interface. It's pretty killer.
The color's nice.
The internet has gobs of information. I can send mail back and forth.
You can get in a discussion group.
We can send audio, pictures.
You can talk to people all over the world.
I could do this for my house.
We're surfing the net there.
Great, I like this.
This is really, really cool.
OS2 Warp, available at your software dealer.